right, guys, we have discussed Greek physical geography, we've discussed the mythology of Greece, and now we need to talk about the two major city-states that kind of controlled a lot. So a Greek city-state is going to also be called a polis, and the biggest polis is going to be Athens. Now, Athens is going to be the most democratic. It's going to be the foundation of modern democracies. Yes, that means our democracy. We're not going to copy it word for word. However, we are going to take a lot of it and use it in what we create day to day. The opposite end of the spectrum, or contrasting, the opposite, opposing, philosophy. So if democracy is all about the people having a vote, the opposite end of that is the oligarchy in Sparta. Now, an oligarchy is when the power of the whole city lands with a small group of people. In Sparta specifically, this small group of people are going to be military folk. They are going to control everything, every aspect of life, from birth, who gets to live, who's not allowed to live anymore. They're gonna look at when you leave the house. Guys, you're gonna leave at the age of 7. Ladies, you're gonna continue on in the house and learn from your mom. And then once you hit marrying age, the oligarchy is going to help choose who you marry and what that entails. Now, so the social structure in both are pretty similar, not the exact, but pretty similar. They're both going to be based on citizenship. This across the mainland of Greece is going to be free adult males. In Sparta, it's going to be a little bit stricter just because of their focus on the military. But you're always going to have women and foreigners that have no political rights. Now, this topic, this ideal has always been the case in ancient societies where women don't have a say and foreigners don't have a political say. The way that some people get around it is the idea that women have a say within their household with their husbands, so they can debate it at home and then figure out the correct way for that family to keep moving forward. And then you have your slaves. The slaves obviously don't have political rights. Slaves are going to be prisoners of war. They're going to be debt slaves, people who owe money. It is never about race when it comes to slavery in this class. It's never about race until we get to the Americas and the idea of slavery transforms into something more controlling. Slavery in ancient Greece, some of them would have the option or opportunity to get out of slavery, but just like with women and foreigners, the political part of it is just nothing. Now, to look at it, we have 5 total different types of governments in Greece alone. If we're looking at Athens, we're going to start with the monarchy, which you have rule by the king. This is really important because Athens has to go through an evolution from this monarchy into the more complex government style of democracy. So they're going to start by rule of a king, a monarchy. They're going to move to an aristocracy. Now, an aristocracy is literally the rich people have the power. Whoever has the money has the power, and they can control through either bribes or just paying for it, the control that they want. They're going to move away from an aristocracy because honestly, rich people, there's a small amount of rich people, so the poor people have more people power, literally. So what happens is you have a tyranny or a tyrant, and this is going to be one person, usually a tyrant, that takes over by force. He's going to have the backing of the military, and he's usually going to work towards reform, and that's a big piece in Greece. Now, In modern tyrants, we don't think of reform as a positive thing, but if we're looking at ancient Greece, we are looking at the positive change, the positive reform of the bad laws that the money-grubbing aristocracy changed to keep the little people, the poor people, down. So when we're looking at tyranny, we are looking at reform, changing. How can we help the poorer people? How can we help the military? And that's where we're looking at with that one. Finally, we have the democracy. Democracy is people voting. Now, in Athens, we have a direct democracy, and a direct democracy means every citizen is going to go vote. If you don't vote in Athens, the local leaders will actually send their slaves around with a rope and some paint, and you will have paint thrown on you, and you will have to walk around like that for quite a long time. And so it's pretty embarrassing. It does use peer pressure as a way to control people, as a way to control them voting. And so the civic duty in Athens is all-encompassing. Our fifth one is the oligarchy in Sparta, where the small group of military folk, and that's just how it is in Sparta alone, is the oligarchy is controlled by generals. And so it's a complete opposite of Athens, and even the evolution of the Athenian government types. Now, with Athens being the birthplace of democracy, we have to go through these four ways of governing before we can get to the democracy, because without them, the people of Athens don't learn that the people voting is so important. You have to get through it. And it's going to take a couple hundred years, and it's not going to be instantaneous, and it's not going to be all-encompassing for every single human in Greece, but it's better than what it was, and I think that is where they focused most of their energy. So two tyrants that are going to work for reform. We've got first Draco. Now, Draco is going to be really big into the harsh punishment. That's what he's known for, and he's going to try to stop crime. What he creates is the Draconian law codes. It's almost as harsh as the Hammurabi law codes, but it's going to be a little bit less harsh because it has to go through more avenues within the government. And then we have Solon. Now, Solon is going to be a writer, and he is going to see how the Draconian laws don't actually help everybody. So he's going to sit down and he's going to work on a constitution. Think of the Constitution we have in the United States. Again, it's not written word for word, but we are, as a modern country, going to take pieces of the Greek Constitution and put it into our own. It is a direct democracy, and with the direct democracy, you have to have these pieces in play. Every single citizen has to vote, and you're going to have something called public debate. Now, public debate is an interesting topic because it's not something that's widely practiced today in the United States. You can be part of a debate team, but back then, boys, males are going to be taught specifically how to debate without name calling, without shouting, and it's all going to be backed by information. Yes, there will be emotional stuff, but it's not just yelling at each other. It's going to be informative argument, and then you're going to find some type of compromise towards the end. And that is part of your duty as a citizen. You have to go vote. You also have to participate in the military for 2 years. So let's say from 18 to 20, every citizen has to fight or be enlisted, and then they can go about their life and continue on doing what they want to do for a job. In Sparta, here's the flip side of it. Sparta is not a democracy. It's not something it's not somewhere you can just be who you want to be. In Sparta, it's an oligarchy. Now, we could put that word in there, ruled by a small military group, And that would be an accurate statement for Sparta. Because it is completely controlled by the military. It's got a very rigid social structure. It's strict. You're not going to be able to move up or down. The only way you can show promise, show yourself, is through military might. Now, the only people in Sparta who are going to get a gravestone, which marks that they were there, that they can be remembered, are men who die in battle and women who die in childbirth, birthing a healthy child. And that's because their whole focus was the fact that they had to bring a strong military force to the table. No matter who they were coming up against, they're going to start training at the age of 7 and just move forward. They're aggressive. They're taught to be aggressive, and that includes the females in the society. You are not supposed to be empathetic. You're not supposed to be nice and all of those things. You are supposed to fight for everything you've got. And that's just how it was in Sparta. And it's all about the military. There is no getting around it. The military is most important and everything else is secondary. So if we look at it, on the left-hand side, we've got Athens. On the right-hand side, we've got Sparta. So in Athens, we end as a democracy. All free male adults are going to be citizens, and the individual human is most important. Not that they don't believe in the collectiveness, but the fact that your happiness is what is important. Political rights are second in command. Now, as an individual, you have to go vote and you have to be part of the community. And to do that, you have to be part of either the Senate or the Assembly. And that's the most important. Education is more important for boys than it is for girls. For girls, we're just gonna start looking at what is best for the home. So ladies, we're gonna learn how to sew, we're gonna learn how to do basic math, we're gonna learn how to clean and cook and all of those things. And even if we do have slaves to help us, we are still going to be required to control the house and figure out the budget. But boys, you are going to go to school and you're going to learn math, and you're going to learn poetry and philosophy, and you're going to learn debate, and you're going to learn all of these other pieces of the pie so that you can carry on the traditions that are set forth. So in Sparta, we have the oligarchy, where the military, a small group of the military generals are in charge. Landowners. So in Sparta, as a citizen, not only are you a free adult male, you also have to own some piece of property, which is hard because both these cities are on what's called an acropolis. So they're on the top of a mountain. They go down the sides of the mountain. So population control is an issue, as is making sure everybody is fed. So having a landowner as a citizen it's controlling so that not everybody gets a say in the government. The basis of a society in Sparta is going to be aggression. You have to be aggressive to survive. It goes into the military. Guys, again, we're going to leave home at 7. You're going to become a tough soldier. By the age of 20, you're going to get married. Now, like I said before, you don't get to choose your wife. It's not about love. It's about what can you bring to the table as a couple. It's about your healthy children. And that's what's going to dictate who you marry. So ladies, you have to give birth to healthy boys. That is your goal. And you need to stay physically fit. By doing these things in the Spartan society, you will survive. And if you make it as a boy, into your 20s to get married, that means you have dealt with beatings, you've dealt with starvation, you've dealt with all of these things that, according to the Spartans, would make you a better soldier.